The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Manfromleng. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, Nate Lost in Time and Space, Mattastrophic, and I talk about Horrors Without Borders, the event that was hosted by the Great Old Ones Gaming podcast on March 18th. The event featured a lot of great Arkham Horror LCG content, which is still over on their Twitch channel, and raised money for Doctors Without Borders. Before I get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. You all rock. If you'd like to be amazing like these people and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Cole Monroe Chitty, Nicole Fiscus, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for their contributions to the channel. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. We're going to take a bit of a break from the reviews on this video to talk about the Horrors Without Borders fundraiser that was organized by the folks over at Great Old Ones Gaming, which I happen to be a part of. The fundraiser took place earlier in March and raised more than $1,200 for Horrors Without Borders. If you didn't have a chance to catch the event live, all of the videos are up over at Great Old Ones Gaming. So we thought we would get together and talk about some of the events that took place on the day. There was a playthrough of a brand new fan-made scenario that made its debut. Mattastrophic had a unique Lola playthrough that we're going to talk about, and there was also the folks over at Chaosium had a Call of Cthulhu scenario that they ran, which sounds like it was a great deal of fun. I will leave links in the description down below to the videos, so if you want to go check it out, you can. The big news is that Nate is one of the organizers of the event, and he's back. Or at least a facsimile of Nate is back. We have yet to confirm whether it is in fact Nate. How are you doing?
I am doing well. The Yuggoth is doing it's doing pretty well. I will
just to check, you're not a Mask of Nyarlathotep, are you?
That has yet to be determined. But
got it. Okay.
I will be leaving the halls of Nakotis and rejoining the earthly plane in a couple of months, which will be nice. And we had a hell of a time hosting Horrors Without Borders, didn't we, man? That was a good time.
Oh man, that was a fun day, actually. There was a lot that happened. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So where do we want to start? Do we want to just start right from the beginning of the day, or?
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the event, and I believe this is the third year that the Great Old Ones Gaming has hosted it, and then we can dive into some of the events that took place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it is, in fact, the third year that we've hosted the event. The first couple of years, we had a lot of help with hosting the event with the Mythos Busters and a bunch of other Arkham content creators. And this year, we were flying solo, and with me being in school, it was a bit busy, but we still managed to, I think, host a really great event this year. And to date, we've raised over $8,000 for Doctors Without Borders, so just quickly want to give a thank you to everyone who donates and to everyone who watches. It's always a great time, and I appreciate everyone that comes out and looks out for the event. But yeah, so there was a lot of Arkham-related content this year. We had Kevling and Robin from Out of Ammo, Out of Time host their a live episode of the Flavor Text podcast, which delves into the flavor text and lore of Arkham Horror, the card game, which there is a lot of.
Seeing their flavor text when they were just linking together some of the pieces from the early Carcosa scenarios, I was like, oh, I love this, because it's just something that kind of gets overlooked often enough when you've played campaigns over and over. Like the atmosphere that the flavor text creates, and I was like, oh man, I'm reminded of why I love Carcosa so much.
And they point out like some really funny moments too within the game, like moments that just kind of make you crack up, and I think that's a good part to highlight, I think, in a game like this, because it is a horror game. You also need those moments of levity,
like Thud.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the
And I mean,
designers
any
go to a
chance
great
to
deal
talk
of
about
trouble to
GVK.
put the flavor text there, but honestly, I don't think I've read it in years.
Even The Gathering has like a good amount of flavor text that's worth looking at.
Mhm.
We were discussing that actually about how like I started listening to a lot of the flavor text from The Gathering and realizing how very Resident Evil it feels because it's very like almost first person. It describes what you're seeing and how gross it is. Yeah, and it was just nice to be reminded of that aspect of the game.
I mean, it is a story game, right? Like at its core, like
Mhm.
you are playing through stories,
It's
and
true.
the
Yeah.
flavor text is important. And I
Mhm.
think Kev and Robin do a really great job of highlighting those great elements of the game.
Mhm.
And they're just it was just a great listen in general. So I'd highly recommend that people check out that episode if they're really into those aspects of the game.
Mhm.
Each of their episodes, they really delve into scenario by scenario and really like go through each detail of the scenarios. It's really a fascinating listen.
Yeah, I think they're on the Forgotten Age now. Is that correct?
Yeah, they'll be starting the Forgotten Age. I'm assuming they'll probably be up by the time this episode goes live. So
True.
So, what were some of the other events after the delving too deep into flavor text?
well, we had a fellow co-host of ours, Vase Odin from the Twisted Tentacle Inn, hosted a playtest of a Call of Cthulhu scenario that he has been writing up and is hoping to release in the repository, hopefully sometime. I think he told me sometime maybe late this year, early next year, called Khufu the Eternal, which is a short. It's going to be a trilogy of scenarios, with this one being the first of the three.
Mhm.
And it is a heist scenario for Call of Cthulhu, which was a lot of fun. It was set in the 1930s, and it involves the players being tasked to steal if I remember correctly, it's an artifact or a
Yep.
yeah, it was an Egyptian artifact from Khufu, from Pharaoh Khufu, and it was it was a lot of fun to watch his players just make an absolute mess of it. I
I mean,
won't spoil
literally,
it.
they use the laxative, so like a lot. So literal mess. Literal.
Yeah. It was good fun. It was good fun. It was fun to see Vase, run a Call of Cthulhu scenario. He's been very focused on his D&D campaigns and all of his D&D related content. That it was nice to see him break out of his mold a bit and run some Call of Cthulhu. And then let's see what else. I think after that, let's see, it was noon. I'm trying to remember exactly.
Speedrunner? Speedrun?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
Phileon. Yes, who did a speed run of an Arkham campaign, if you would believe that is such a thing. He's been doing it for the past 3 years. He finds a new challenge each year and somehow manages to play like 5 to 6 scenarios, usually in a span of 2 hours.
Mhm.
It's pretty incredible to watch. He's got the game down to a science. He really does. But this year he decided to stay on the path for the Dream Eaters
Oh,
side,
that's
the
right.
Dreaming Side campaign.
Mhm.
So for those who aren't aware, there is a particular challenge that you can take in the A side of the Dream Eaters campaign, where you can stay on the path. Which
Yep.
this is, I guess, minor spoilers, but in the first scenario, once you get down into the forest, there's that location where you can take 3 actions to stay
Mhm.
on the path and get the clues that way to advance
Yep.
through the scenario. So he builds 2 decks. He was playing Ashcan Pete and Roland, and he
Right.
managed to stay on the path and beat the campaign in under 2 hours. It was really something to watch.
It was a it was a bit close there for a while, like especially that scenario 1 and scenario 4. Didn't look like they were all gonna make it.
Yeah, it was to the wire for sure. And
Yeah.
Frank from Drawn to the Flame, he did commentary as well. So
Mhm.
there's wonderful commentary by Frank throughout the podcast as well. So it's a great watch. If you're into speedrunning content, if you're into Arkham, the weirdest of 2 niches, but there you go.
I assume he didn't have enough time to read flavor text, did he?
No, probably
That'd be a
not.
real speed run.
Yeah, it's a very like total opposites of the community in that regard, I would assume, in interests. It's
Yeah,
like,
maybe we should do that sometime. Have like a speed reading competition for Arkham Horror players.
yeah.
See who can read Lovecraft's words the fastest.
And he also showcased off the newest version of the tabletop sim mod, which the
Yeah.
community has been doing a great job with. So
Yeah,
Very
the
cool.
tabletop simulator mod has undergone quite a revamp to reorganize things, and I haven't played tabletop simulator all that much, but I was impressed. I was fooling around with it a little bit after the day, and quite liked it.
Are you gonna join us? Are
maybe,
you gonna join us?
maybe
You're gonna end
join
your
the revolution.
janky.
gonna
Are you gonna
do
join
some
your janky
playthroughs, and
night?
maybe we'll see which. I'll do an Octagon playthrough and a tabletop simulator playthrough, and then people can vote on which one they like more, and we'll go from there.
So has Octagon been updated since 2008?
Well, the mod is gone. The Arkham mod has received quite a few updates, but I'm not sure if Octagon itself has.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man.
The one nice thing I will say about Tabletop Simulator is that most, if not all, of the fan-made content that has been made for the game is available on Tabletop Simulator, and I don't know how many scenarios are available on Octagon, because I tend not to play fan-made content, but that may be because it's not available on Octagon. So,
Yep.
Speaking of fan-made content, we did get to play a brand new scenario that was created for the Horrors Without Border event by noted fan-made creator The Beard. And I believe, Nate, you had a hand in creating this scenario as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So after Horrors Without Borders last year, the Beard reached out to me wanting to do something special for this year. And we had the idea to make a fan-made and unveil it during the event. And he had kind of tasked me with kind of coming up with some story ideas. And, well, Lovecraft was a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I was reading a lot of Edgar Allan Poe at the time. So I proposed to him the story, The Facts of the Case of M. Voldemar, which, for those aren't familiar, is a story by Edgar Allan Poe that is about a mesmerist who mesmerizes one of his friends at the moment of his death. And some very strange stuff happens where the man lives for several months after he's been mesmerized. So we kind of took that story as inspiration for an Arkham scenario, and I think the Beard did an absolutely terrific job making it into a really fun Arkham scenario. We threw in some cult stuff, and I looked through some Call of Cthulhu source material to find some new like ancient ones that we could draw inspiration from, and we decided on Dayloth, which is a cubic amalgamation that sort of lives between the Dreamlands and the real world, and
Got it.
we kind of used some Dreamlands related content in there too, and it turned out really great. For those who want to check it out themselves, there is a Mysterious Chantings article with all of the relevant print and digital download materials, so you can check that out for yourself now. And yeah, I think Tyler did a great job, and you guys did a great job in that game. My goodness.
Down to the wire.
Yeah, I
Carson had to
believe
blow
that's the
himself
first
up.
time that Mattastrophic and I have played together, which was
Yes,
a nice
it is.
treat. We were also joined by JP, who does Arkham content as well as Marvel Champions over on his channel. And Vase from the Twisted Tentacle Inn was also playing. We had Mattastrophic was playing Jenny, of course. Vase was playing Carolyn. JP was playing Carson, and I was playing Agnes. And the game went right down to, I believe it was the final turn.
It was the final turn,
and
yeah.
we needed to get a bunch of clues on the final turn, and we managed to succeed. It was a bit of an odd scenario for me anyway, because I don't get to play multiplayer all that often, And I brought my solo Agnes deck that apparently was versatile enough that I ended up being the primary Kluver of the game, which was a little unusual for me, not just to play the Kluver, but to play the Kluver as Agnes. But fortunately, I got 6 cents and down on, I believe it was like the first turn. And so I was just snapping up clues left, right, and center, and then fortunately, I ended up with Rite of Seeking right at the right time and was able to. So when we needed to grab multiple clues, I was able to do so. Jenny spent a lot of time fighting.
No, I brought like a generalist but clue heavy spec for that, and I just spent all my time shooting things. I think I had to break out the twin 45s as well with like 9 bullets on it. Yeah, it was.
In fact, I think Carolyn spent most of her time fighting as well. And
pretty much, yeah.
And Carson, JP spent a lot of time just playing the support deck, which was, I believe, the first time I have seen Carson in play. And the deck seemed to do very, very well. Although, unfortunately, Carson did not make it out of the house.
Yeah.
He ended up disappearing into the mindscape, which is the primary mechanic of the scenario. I won't spoil it here. If you are interested in playing it, I would highly recommend that you give it a try. It has, besides the mindscape, it has some other interesting mechanics in there that seems like it works well for both multiplayer as well as solo. The end kind of reminds me a little bit of one of the Dunwich scenarios, but
oh right, okay,
a little bit, yeah. I can see where you're getting at, yeah.
But it was a lot of fun to not only to play some decks, but to play a little bit of multiplayer with. What did you think of the scenario, Mattastrophic?
Man, we're just dragging you into the 21st century. We're dragging you into Tabletop Simulator. We're dragging you into multiplayer. Man, you're gonna be a changed man by the time you're done with this. This is the beginning of a new you. You know, you're gonna have to like get a new haircut or wear a hat or something, and you're gonna take like 10 years off your face, and you're gonna be a new man. I swear. And thanks to this scenario, actually, because that scenario was good enough to cause you to, forget your past and embrace your future. Yeah, I had a good time with it. It featured a lot of hidden cards, which I kind of enjoy because it's like the game encourages you to like be hush hush about what's in your hand, which may be a little hard to do on Tabletop Simulator, but I could see if you print it out and play it with your friends, you'll have a fun time just being like, playing. I've got this hidden card. What does it do? Because some of them will like affect multiple players, and I enjoy that type of stuff, like that chaos of a 4-player game.
Yeah, the hidden card mechanic was something that was introduced back in the Path to Carcosa campaign, and it has cropped up from time to time since, but it's not something has been very common in recent scenarios, and it's a mechanic I have always enjoyed, especially in multiplayer when you do end up drawing those hidden cards, and then, like you said, Mattastrophic, it's like, oh, what did he draw? And then you'll be playing, and it's like, okay, you go do this, and you go do that, and then the other player's like, I can't do that. It's like, well, why can't you do that?
Yeah.
It's just like reasons, just reasons.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. Uncertainty. Yeah, because often enough when everything's on the board, all the treacheries are on the board, all the enemies are on the board in Arkham, it can get very certain. But when you have hidden cards in the hand, it's like there's that little bit of uncertainty that I think adds another layer to the game.
Yeah.
One of the other mechanics that I enjoyed about it was that some of the treacheries actually have benefits, which is or benefit the player, which is somewhat unusual. Don't see that all that often when you're playing a typical scenario where it's like, oh, you get a thing that's actually somewhat good for you, which is but the entire scenario was it seemed like it was had just enough turns in it to get stuff done. I think we got off to a pretty good start, and then I think we ended up maybe between Act 1 and Act 2, we sort of slowed down a little bit, and then all of a sudden Agenda 3 was upon us, and we had to...
oh my god. Yeah, we had to hurry up.
Thanks to,
That's right.
I think Carson's ability to hand out extra actions really made a big difference there. I know certainly Agnes wouldn't have been in the right position to grab clues without Carson being able to push her around a little bit and get her into the right position.
Yeah, that was a common thread. There was definitely some safeguarding going on and shoving people around, and yeah, it was good. It was a good time. I just wish I'd run a combat spec instead of a intellect spec. But you know what? It went down to the photo finish, so maybe I ran the perfect spec. You know.
Well, I believe you did get the final clue that we needed. So
yeah, that's right.
You were just building up to that.
Oh yeah, that's it. That was the whole thing. I was just like all those gunshots, all those enchanted blade charges. It was just to discover the last clue. Yep, that's what it was all about. That was my grand plan, right, Nate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you guys like literally to the last action in that scenario. Like, right. I mean, in a blind playthrough, I'd call that a major win. Like, not knowing anything about the scenario whatsoever, just kind of like quickly putting some decks together and playing it. You guys did really well.
Yeah.
Speaking of putting decks together, one of the features of the fundraiser was if you made a donation, you had the option of contributing to Mattastrophic's Lola deck that he was going to play through as part of the event. And it was a Lola Chaos build with a few twists. Why don't you tell us about that, Mattastrophic?
Well, we just let anybody pick any card for for the Lola deck. And if you didn't want to pick a card, I just randomized the cards. And we had some funny ones. I ended up with 3 flashlights by the end, because there were enough donations to put 3 flashlights in the deck. I had 2 newspaper level 2s, because Filion was, talking up newspaper level 2. It was not as useful as Filion was saying. Let's see. Filion, however, was nice. He gave me anything you can do better, like Winifred's signature card for my Lola deck. I received randomly. I got Becky, Tommy's gun. That was useful. I received a a VMAX Dynamax Charizard from the Pokemon card game. That was in the deck. I got Armageddon from Magic the Gathering. That was in the deck. That was going to be interesting. I don't know how I was going to resolve that one, if it came into play. Someone gave me a Call of Cthulhu LCG card, which made a lot of sense. And then I got Baron Semity, Marie's weakness. He was a pain in the butt because somebody decided to give me a weakness. Fortunately, no one gave me any encounter cards. That would have been a problem if someone gave me encounter cards for the deck. Yeah. So Nate and I, we played Return to the Gathering, thinking like, okay, it's gonna be great. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna play the scenario. We're gonna get out of the study. It's good. Thanks to newspaper level 2 in the opening hand, we were thinking we were gonna get out of the study. Everything was gonna be great, and then everything wasn't great. Because it turns out, like, Song of the Dead is not very good at defeating enemies.
No.
It's even worse when you're out of charges, and it led to some hilarious moments. Like I had to use Ace in the Hole to use Taboo Lola's roll swap ability a total of 3 times in a turn in order to get some ghouls evaded. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, you had some rough turns there.
It was pretty rough, but and it also turns out that Becky, as great as Becky is, Becky only has 2 bullets. Did you know that? Yeah, did you know that? And you have no way of reloading it unless your investigator name is Tommy Muldoon. Yeah, it turns out you can't reload it. Yeah, but it all came to a conclusion when I drew what was it, Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic from Yu-Gi-Oh. And we figured out how to get that guy into play because he had 8 health and 8 sanity.
It's true.
We determined, it has 8 health and 8 sanity, and that gave me just enough health to take attacks of opportunity from the Ghoul Priest, like 2 of them, in order to resign. So we did not get defeated. We did not beat the Gathering, but we did not get defeated, thanks to the mighty Master of Magic from Yu-Gi-Oh, who
You're
does
welcome.
not take up an ally slot. We realized.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was kind of just a ridiculous game in general. Like, I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I was like 15 hours into the stream at that point.
It was a great end of stream, end of charity treat of like, how the hell is Matt gonna get out of the study, with this deck? But every card that everyone donated like came into play. The
It's true.
Lucky that I got, the let's see, the level 2 Guts, that was useful. The Stunning Blow, Thud, that hit the board. Very important for dealing with a ghoul.
Mhm.
The only one that was like a total dud, I think, was Eat Lead. It's hard to use Eat Lead when you only have 2 bullets in your only gun.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a problem. Yeah, but
So how did
on
you
that great.
work with the Charizard and the Yu-Gi-Oh card? How did you
Well,
determine
fortunately, the
their
Charizard got
abilities?
discarded. Fortunately, the Charizard got discarded because JP of Northern Lights over Arkham gave me short supply, so that way I could just dump all these cards into the discard pile. So, yeah, I didn't get to use the Charizard. We just had to figure it out at the end how to play Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. We just figured out because he's got like a million words on him, and it was like we figured out a way to cheat him into play. I think we ended up realizing that Rotting Remains counted as a trap, and that was enough to like get it all together
Mhm.
and get him into play. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
So,
to
so the
admit
card was just
I
the card
have never
text.
played Yu-Gi-Oh and have no idea really about anything about the game except that people have like a trillion health and cards do like a billion damage, so it all somehow works out in the end.
Well, this guy only had 8 health, so he doesn't have a trillion. You're probably thinking the Pokemon TCG. Man, if I managed to get that Charizard on the board, that guy, he has like 300 health soak. That would have been pretty good.
Mhm. You can deal like 300 damage.
That's right. The no Ghoul Priest is going to stand up to a 300 damage Charizard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but don't you need the energy in Pokemon to power up the
We
Charizard?
we were gonna figure that out when we got there. Like if I managed to play the Charizard, we would have figured that
Because
out.
that would have
Maybe
been
you
really
spend
insulting if they'd given you a Charizard but no fire energy to power it up, and so it just sits there. And
Yeah, I figured I would have just used red cards. Like I would just put red cards on it, and that would count.
what if you used Fire Axe for fire energy?
That would have been perfect. I would just spend resources on Fire Axe and use that to power the Charizard. That would have been like A+ creativity in the moment right there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. But fortunately, I didn't give up, and I didn't play Armageddon to destroy all locations. Um, yeah, fortunately, I didn't. It didn't come to that. We managed to get out of the house.
well, that certainly puts a new spin on whether you burn your house down at the end. It's like I'll do you one better.
I'll blow up the world.
Armageddon.
Take that, Ghoul Priest. It's like good, but it was good, and I highly recommend these sorts of you just throw some house rules together and play ridiculous decks, and it's great for some laughs. So I highly recommend mixing genres and mixing investigators and cards and weaknesses and
Do you have a
entire
deck
card
list that
games.
you can share?
Yeah, I've got most. I gotta polish up with I'll polish it off with the random choices that were handed out to me, and then I'll put a link for you guys. It should have everything in it. It
Yeah,
was
so
pretty
if you're interested in checking out Mattastropic's run through Return to the Gathering with a Lola deck that had absolutely no borders in keeping with the theme of the day, a Lola deck that not only had Chaos Arkham Horror cards in it, but a few cards from other games as well. Definitely head over to the Great Old Ones Gaming channel to check out that playthrough.
It's definitely a fun watch.
So I believe the day either wrapped up or one of the things in part of the day was the Chaosium had their playthrough the scenario. I understand they were working in the names of donors into the scenario.
They were, yeah. It was expert level game mastering on Jim's part. He did a great job, yeah. So yeah, it was towards the end of the night, because they were all in Australia, so it was like early morning for them by this time. And they came out, and for those who don't know, Chaosium has the Stream of Chaos, which is a group of people that they've had contracted out to produce playthroughs for them, and they host games every Friday night on their Twitch channel. And I reached out to them to see if they would be willing to host a game for the event, and sure enough, they did. And it was man, it was a great time. They hosted a classic Call of Cthulhu scenario. From actually, I have the book. I would go get it and show you, but I won't spoil any details for you. You should just go watch it. It's incredible. It's about roughly 2.5 hours.
I was riveted the whole time, actually, because of all the great playing and the great jamming and all the voices and all the banter and the luck rolls.
Yeah, they have a great cast and crew running in those games. So yeah, they played a scenario for about 2.5 hours, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just the way he worked in all the donations throughout the course of the game,
cool.
It was super funny. Like someone donated, it was like named like Jim's Beans or something like that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it was like
that's
there
right.
was a bean company, and they're like, one of them had like a hallucination of beans just like pouring out from the basement.
It was like The Shining. It was like the flooding hallway with blood in The Shining, but with beans. Thanks to somebody's donation.
It was good stuff. Really, just a great playthrough. You know, it's very easy to follow along since Call of Cthulhu is a D100 based game. I think it's sort of intuitive what's going on in the game. You know, you're trying to roll low, and they make it very clear what's going on, and you know they keep the pace like up and going. There's no downtime at all.
Yeah, I especially liked how they even for like a relative Call of Cthulhu newbie like myself, I do like how they were showing off how to integrate things like pushing rolls and hard successes and like opposed rolls, like things that you kind of need to see in action, in order to pick up Call of Cthulhu to learn how to like use them well in like a role playing setting. So that was great to see. Yeah, it's very new. It's very beginner friendly. Their stream.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, because you don't really like play tabletop role playing games, do you, Matt? Like, what did you think of it as someone who doesn't?
I thought it was great. I was sitting here thinking between this game and the game that Vase ran, I was like, man, I want to play some Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, I remember. I think it was for Horrors Without Borders 2. We played a session of Pulp Cthulhu, and I had a great time. Great time, and I'd love to do that again. Yeah, it was good. You got to add personality to the Arkham characters.
I think that was FarkhamCon. Yeah.
FarkhamCon. That's right. All that time ago. Yeah.
In the way back. Yes.
In the way back.
For those who don't know what Matt's talking about, I converted the first two scenarios of the Forgotten Age campaign to a Pulp Cthulhu scenario, and I ran Matt, Vase, and a couple other of our patrons of the show through Call of Cthulhu scenario that I drafted up, and man, they had a great time with that too. But yeah, I mean, Chaosium did a great job, and I'd love to have them back on the show at some point to discuss it in further detail, which hopefully will happen relatively soon. We'll see.
Maybe we can get you as a player.
So what is the plan for Horrors Without Borders 4?
We don't know yet.
Well, first we need a name, right?
We
had 3D this time, which I think was pretty appropriate, but we need one for 4 because now we're beyond the trilogy, the horror movie trilogy, and now you're getting into stuff like Friday the 13th Part 4. Like, do they even have subtitles?
Horrors Without Borders Resurrection.
Yes, we've done it.
It'll be totally alien themed, but we don't
Horrors Without Borders Resurrection.
But we don't talk about Resurrection, the movie itself. Honestly, I'm kind of waiting until I graduate to kind of formulate more plans about next year, but there are plans to do another one next year, so definitely stay tuned to the channel for more information about that as the time approaches. It's usually early in the year. I think the first year was in February, then the following year was in January, and this year was in March. So we'll probably keep it around that same 3-month period. It's really just kind of dependent on, coordinating everyone's schedules together and getting all that stuff logistical stuff handled. So I will certainly keep everyone informed.
And I'm looking forward to pushing past the $10,000 mark for total donations to Doctors Without Borders. Yeah, that you get like, don't you get like the equivalent of the YouTube silver play button if you do that or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens, but
Yeah.
I mean, raising money for charity is always a great
Oh, yeah.
cause, and it's a lot of fun. So at the very least, like, it's just a great day to just hang out and hang out with various Arkham content creators and just have a good time, if nothing else.
Yeah, it is the one day. It's becoming the tradition, the one day a year that the Arkham community from all over the world. I mean, we had Pacific, West Coast of the U.S. all the way to Australia, all coming together at the same time, to have a good time. So it's turning into a nice festival.
So if you were unable to join us for Horrors Without Borders Part 3, make sure you head over to the Great Old Ones Gaming channel. We're on Twitch, where all of the videos are available. You can watch the Call of Cthulhu playthrough. You can watch Mattastrophic figure out how to get a Charizard on the table. You can watch Mattastrophic and I and JP and Vase tackle a scenario blind, a brand new fan-made scenario blind. That was a lot of fun. And I will leave links down below to all of this stuff. So if you want to play that scenario yourself and take a trip to the Mindscape, I would highly recommend it. It is the Beard always does an amazing job with his fan-made scenarios, to the point that you'd hardly know you were playing a fan-made. They're very, very, very well done. Any final thoughts?
Just another great year, and just want to give another thank you to everyone who donated and everyone who watched, and thank you to both of you guys for helping me put the event together and just having a good time.
Yeah, glad to help. It's a great cause.
Doctors Without Borders does important work all around the world, and so it's always great to support them and the work that they do. That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.